Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Haltech Heroes. Today, we're here with Martin and his AC Cobra. Martin, first of all, thanks very much for inviting us into your garage. Your beautiful, comfy chairs.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all.
To check out the Cobra. So, before we get to the Cobra, I suppose, tell us a bit about yourself. Like, how did you get into cars? How did you end up owning a Cobra like this?
So I've always been a car guy. My dad was a car guy. You know, I learnt to spray paint by the time I was 3, sort of thing. Not very well, but I would paint stuff. And you know, I started out like every young guy does, not a lot of money, you know, Datsuns, mates had Geminis, you know, we'd go rallying them, you know, that was the kind of thing we did. And I guess I'm not a brand loyal guy, I just like cars. And, you know, AC Cobra certainly was one of the cars on my bucket list that I'd, you know, wanted to really tick the box when I saw it.
Perfect. Well, I suppose it's one of those cars where it's so iconic from that era, and you've managed to keep it looking like that so well. So tell us a bit about the body of this car, or a bit about your idea from when you first got it to what you've made it into now.
Sure. So the car for me, it was really important that it was a period looking car, that it looked like it came out of the 60s. It's not fancy. There's not a lot of, you know, not a lot of chrome on there. There's some alloy, but that's about it. And I've done everything to keep it as period as I could because, like I said, it is an iconic shape. A 427 FIA body car is, you know, for me, it's when I think of a Cobra, that's what I think about.
And I suppose the question that everyone's going to ask us straight away, is it real?
No.
So
yeah, you can touch it, but it's certainly not not a Carroll Shelby built car.
Right. So from that, so it's a kit car, individually constructed car?
Yeah. So it's an ICV. The chassis itself was made by G-Force Cobras in Western Australia.
Right. So because it's an ICV, what year model is this car based around?
It's based on a 66 FIA 427 car.
Right.
The driveline is obviously much more modern than that.
For sure. So because it's a later model car than what it originally was made, it's what year model, I suppose, as an individually constructed vehicle, what year model is the car?
It's registered as a 2006 model car.
Right.
So it applies, all the EPA stuff for a 2006 model car applies to this car.
So the Cobra back in the day obviously had a carbureted V8 in it?
Absolutely, yep.
And what sort of carbies did it have on it, or back?
So they had 2 different styles. They either had dual Hollies or quad Webbers. You know, obviously being a late model vehicle, can't run carbs anymore.
For sure. So that's where we've gone to the EFI conversion on this car, but you've still kept a bunch of throttles in there to get the noise?
Absolutely. So individual throttle body EFI, you know, it's got the side pipes on there. It's to make it more authentic.
So the side pipes, we've got one on both sides. They're obviously, they're real, so the exhaust actually comes out there and it still makes that crazy rumble these had.
They most definitely work.
So getting back to the EFI conversion that you've done on this, because it's such an iconic car, it was carbureted, you've wanted to change it up a little bit to kind of keep with the authentic feel of the car. So how have you gone about that?
Yeah, that's right. It was really important to me that it looked as old school as I could get it while still having the nice drivability and cold start that EFI gives you. So when we did the install, we didn't hide the EFI as such, we just toned it down as much as we could. We fitted, you know, everything we could inside the Dizzy that's in the car in order to still make it look old school, but have the effective working ability of EFI.
So when you say you're using the distributor as the crank and the cam signal, you mean you've sort of put all of those sensors into the distributor shaft to make it look a bit more original?
Yeah, absolutely. To give it that period feel. So when you look at the engine bay, you're not seeing anything that wouldn't sort of feel right in a mid-60s car. Same with the throttle bodies. You know, we tried to replicate as much as we could a set of Webbers on there. And what we did was essentially polish the throttle body, the ram tubes, left the manifold just straight silver, the bodies themselves straight silver, but painted the fuel rails black and black injectors and black fuel lines. So you look at it, you see the shiny stuff, don't necessarily see the new stuff.
What a nice way to finish off a car. Personally, I kind of like the same style, that sort of understated. And I can see the same with the interior, where we must have very similar taste in the way that you finished it off.
Yeah, I wanted the car, again, I always keep saying it, but I wanted it to look period. I didn't want it to be, you know, leery or shiny or anything really modern in there. So the gauges in the car replicate where the gauges were and the gauge style of the factory race car. The dashboard is quite simple. The seats, again, quite simple. There's nothing that looks modern within it.
So being a cammed up V8, it's obviously making plenty of power. So probably first of all, what sort of power to weight, or how much does it weigh? How much power does it make?
The car weighs a little over 1,000 kilos. It makes reasonable power for what it is of 270 rear wheel horsepower. It's a good balance. I need to take the car for long drives over weekends, so I don't really want an angry V8 that's going to give me a lot of trouble.
You mentioned that you take this car on long drives. Obviously the EFI conversion, you took that into consideration. For the EFI stuff, obviously it's a little bit more reliable than what you had.
Yeah, absolutely. That goes without question. For me, I know I can go for, do 1,000 Ks in a weekend. I know every time I go to start the car, it will start first kick, and the tune will always be nice and neat and clean. No fouled plugs. None of the things you have to worry about with the carby car.
For sure. So in this car, what ECU are you using in it?
So it's a Elite 750.
Right, okay. And have you coupled that with any other sensors?
Yeah, O2 sensor, obviously. So, I wanted to be able to self-tune somewhat and just give me the right thing all the time.
Perfect. So if you're driving this through the mountains, it's probably brilliant to have an O2 sensor to be recalculating all the time for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I do drive the car, it gets driven properly. I didn't buy the car to look at, I drove it to use it. And that's the key for me, is the usability of the car.
I love it. I'm really looking forward to going out for a drive with you and see what it's like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great fun.
I suppose before we finish, I guess, what else have we got in the car? Things like, what sort of braking system and what suspension system are we using?
So a lot of the actual moving componentry under the car is Jaguar based. So it has Jag inboard discs at the back and decent sized Jaguar discs at the front and calipers. Jaguar suspension arms. Runs a fairly new three-way adjustable coilover shocks all around the car. So I can tune the car if I know I'm going away for a weekend and I've got some stuff in the back. I can firm the back up and it will still handle very neutrally.
And how do you go, because it's such a mix and match of parts, how do you go finding spare parts for a car like this?
Well, generally it's quite easy because it has essentially a late model motor in it, a late model gearbox. The Jaguar stuff, there's so many guys playing with that stuff. You just buy it off the shelf without any drama. Same with brake pads. Really, you're just buying brake pads for an XJ6.
It makes it a pleasure to drive, a pleasure to work on. Congratulations, I think it's a brilliant car.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I'm really happy with it. It's just a fun place to be.
Well, we've been over the engine, we've been over the suspension, the brakes. Probably the most important thing, if you're going to take me for a drive in it, any chance you reckon I'm going to squeeze in there and have a look around?
It'll be a tight fit, but we'll make sure that maybe we'll cut your legs off at the knees and you'll fit without too much trouble.
I noticed that there's only a roll bar on your side.
Yeah, passengers are squishy. So the car's not particularly fast, but it's a nice place to be. Makes you smile and other people. It never gets unpleasant unless it rains, and then it gets really unpleasant really quickly.
So have you been caught in it before in a good storm?
Yeah, I've got caught in it on the way back from the Oxley Highway, and it's pretty much aquaplane city because 315 semi-slicks, they're not moving water, and the car doesn't worry very much.
I feel like we should be driving to like a diner for a cheeseburger and a milkshake or something,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I love it.
It comes down to if it was a harsh ride and, it was not a nice place to be, doing a 1,000K weekend over 2 days, you're just going to come back hating life. and that would be the problem with a really angry, naturally aspirated motor, that you'd come back just going, well, you know, I've either got to fix something because I've broken it, or you know, you didn't have a good time because you were thinking about things that could go wrong.
So like everything, the whole setup is the maintenance free. The engine, chuck a bit of oil in it every now and then.
That's it. Yep. It's just easy to maintain, easy to live with.
You'll never get that noise out the back of a car.
No.
Yeah, I think it's a credit to everyone involved, how well the whole package comes together.
Yeah, Dale's done a great job on the tune. You know, I take everything of mine to Dale at Castle Hill, just because I know I can trust him with my cars.
Well, Martin, thanks so much for having us over your place and checking out the man cave. Obviously, looking through your beautiful car. I've really enjoyed it, and the drive, I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I have. I love it.
No, it is a great place to be, and you know, thanks for you guys to come and have a look at the car and enjoy it as much as I do. It's nice to share it with people.
Can't wait to come back and see the next build.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks very much for watching, guys. As always, my name's Scott, and I'll see you next time.